You're listening to the Agentic Engineer Podcast. Weekly AI agent intelligence for builders. I'm your host, and with me as always is my co-host. Let's get into it.
Oh, we have a big one this week. Issue 17. The headline alone is wild.
Alright, quick overview before we go deep. 3 things you need to know. First, the US government pulled Fable 5 and Mythos 5 from production. That's the first time a frontier model has been recalled by government order. Anthropic disagreed publicly but complied immediately.
Every developer using those models lost access at 6:59 p.m. Pacific. No warning. No migration window. Just gone.
Second, AWS shipped 3 new agentic services in a single week. DevOps agent with custom SRE agents and MCP headless access. FinOps agent in preview for autonomous cost management. And OpenSearch MCP apps for agentic observability.
And third, AWS Blocks hit public preview. Infrastructure from code. Your backend entry point is both runtime code and infrastructure definition at the same time. Runs locally without an AWS account. Deploys without changes. AI steering files baked right in. That's our tool of the week.
Let's start with the big one. The first frontier model recall. At 6:59 p.m. Pacific on Thursday, every developer using Fable 5 or Mythos 5 lost access. The US government issued an export control directive and Anthropic complied immediately.
The stated reason was a potential jailbreak method. But here's what gets me. Anthropic's public response pushes back hard. They called the finding narrow, non-universal, and replicable by other models.
Translation: this vulnerability exists in every frontier model, but only theirs got pulled.
Simon Willison documented the exact moment his access died. 1 second his agent was mid-task. The next, 403. No graceful degradation. No fallback. Just gone.
The practical impact is severe. Fable 5 was the default for many enterprise agent deployments because of its speed-to-quality ratio. Mythos 5 powered security research workflows, including the Glasswing vulnerability scanner from issue 14.
Teams that built production systems on these models now have zero access and no timeline for restoration. 0.
This sets 3 precedents. 1. The government can pull a model from production without advance notice. 2. Model providers will comply rather than fight. 3. No SLA or contract protects you from a regulatory kill switch.
Okay, but I want to push back on the framing here. Is this reasonable governance or regulatory overreach? Because Anthropic is arguing that if you apply this standard consistently, you'd freeze all frontier model deployments.
That's probably true. It's also probably the point. Look, for builders, the lesson is architectural. If your agent system has a single model dependency, you now have a single point of regulatory failure.
The teams that built model-agnostic harnesses with fallback routing to Claude Opus 4.8, GPT 5.5, or DeepSeek v4 kept running. Everyone else scrambled.
One thing is certain. The era of deploy a frontier model and forget about it is over.
Honestly, I think Anthropic made the right call pushing back publicly. If they stay quiet, this becomes routine. Every model ships with an invisible kill switch regulators can pull at any time.
I'm less sure about that. Compliance now, fight later in court, that might be the smarter play. You don't want to be the company that defied a government directive on AI safety.
Fair, but the precedent is terrifying either way. Moving on.
Quick hits. First up, AWS DevOps agent. Teams can now build and schedule their own custom SRE agents within agent spaces. Daily health reports, anomaly flaggers, log reviewers, all on a schedule you define.
The big deal is the headless access via MCP and 828 protocol. You can invoke DevOps agent from Kiro, Cloud Code, or any coding assistant without opening the AWS console.
Kiro Power for DevOps agent lets devs check production health without leaving their editor. Plus incident skip rules, Git managed skills, human labeling dashboards, and 5 new regions.
Next, AWS FinOps agent. A full frontier agent dedicated to cloud cost. Answers natural language cost questions, generates reports, surfaces right-sizing and savings plans recommendations.
Auto-investigates anomalies, posts to Slack, opens Jira tickets, runs recurring FinOps workflows on schedule. Free during preview, US East only.
AWS is basically saying FinOps is an agent problem now. And honestly, they're right. Nobody wants to manually dig through Cost Explorer.
Third quick hit. AWS Frontier teams published hard productivity data. A Bedrock team of 6 engineers shipped a project scope for 30 devs. In 76 days.
Individual commit velocity went from 2 per week to 40 per week. The Prime Video team did 556 commits in 10 days versus a baseline of 96.
They documented 3 paths: Pathfinder, structured sprint, and in situ experiment. Actionable frameworks any team can copy.
I'll come back to those numbers in the hot take. Hold that thought.
OpenSearch MCP apps. Logs, traces, metrics, and alerts directly in Claude Desktop, versus Code, Kiro, and any MCP-compatible agent. Your coding agent can now investigate a 3 a.m. production incident using real OpenSearch data.
The smart design here is the dual response mode. Every tool call returns text for the agent to reason over and interactive visualizations for the human. That's clever.
Covers root cause analysis, distributed traces, service dependency maps, PromQL charts, and cross-signal correlations.
And last quick hit. NVIDIA Skill Spectre. They open-sourced a security scanner that detects 64 vulnerability patterns across 16 categories in AI agent skills.
It scans skill.md files, agents.md, MCP tools. Finds prompt injection, data exfiltration, supply chain attacks, memory poisoning.
Here's the stat that should scare everyone. 26.1% of skills contain vulnerabilities. 5.2% show likely malicious intent.
5,822 stars, plus 3,669 this week alone. This is the answer to the agents.md injection attack we covered in issue 10.
About time someone built that. 2-stage analysis too. Fast static scan plus optional LLM semantic analysis.
Paper breakdown. This week we're looking at parallel synthesis, a paper on direct KV cache sharing between agent branches.
Okay, explain this one to me because the title sounds dense but the concept is actually elegant.
Right. So when multiple agents work in parallel and a synthesizer combines their outputs, the standard approach concatenates their text outputs. That's wasteful. You're paying the token cost twice because you encode once in the worker, serialize to text, then re-encode in the synthesizer.
And this paper skips that whole middle step.
Exactly. The synthesizer directly consumes the KV caches from worker agents. The synthesizer's attention layers read from the worker's caches. It sees what they computed without reprocessing any of it.
What are the numbers?
2.5 to 11x reduction in time to first token for the synthesis step. Matches text-based synthesis accuracy on 7 of 9 benchmarks. And the speedup scales with the number of parallel branches.
So more workers means more savings versus text concatenation. That's huge for fan-out Fanine architectures.
If you're running multi-agent setups, research agents, code review agents, anything with parallel branches, the bottleneck is often that gather and synthesize step. This eliminates the re-encoding tax.
What's the catch?
Workers and synthesizer must share the same model architecture. Same hidden dimension, same attention heads. Cross-model synthesis doesn't work.
So homogeneous multi-agent setups only. Which is honestly most production deployments anyway.
The paper also doesn't address cache staleness when worker outputs get updated mid-synthesis, or what happens when branches have very different sequence lengths.
Still, for the common case this is a massive win. Time saved for our listeners, 4-minute read versus 32 minutes for the full paper. 8x compression.
Tool of the week. AWS Blocks. And this one is genuinely interesting because of what it signals about the future of developer tools.
Give me the elevator pitch.
AWS Blocks is the first backend toolkit where the documentation is written for AI coding agents, not just humans. The README ships inside the NPM package. When Kiro or Claude Code opens your project, it reads the block docs from node_modules and produces correct deployable code without custom instructions or plugins.
Wait, so the docs match the exact version installed? No version mismatch? No hallucinated APIs?
Exactly. The architecture is one directory. AWS Blocks/index.ts defines your entire backend. AWS calls it infrastructure from code. Your backend entry point is both your runtime code and your infrastructure definition simultaneously.
No separate Terraform. No separate cloud formation. The code is the infrastructure.
And the front end imports your API directly. Fully typed. No client generation. No REST endpoints to define. Under the hood it's JSON RPC 2.0 over a single post endpoint, but you never touch that.
How many building blocks shipped?
20. AI with agent and knowledge base blocks. Data with KV store, distributed table, database, file bucket. Auth with auth basic, Auth Cognito supporting MFA and passkeys, Authoid. Compute with async job and cron job. WebSocket for real-time. Email client for SES. App setting, logger, metrics, tracer, dashboard, and CloudFront hosting.
That's a full production backend in a box. And 2 dev modes, right?
npm run dev for local mocks, no AWS account needed. Data persists locally. npm run sandbox deploys to real AWS with Lambda and API gateway.
Okay, here's where I disagree with the hype though. Infrastructure from code isn't new. Pulumi, SSD, they've been doing versions of this. What makes Blocks different?
The agent-first documentation strategy. The steering files ship in the npm package. Your coding agent reads them from disk. No MCP server, no plugin, no custom system prompt. The README is the interface. And every combination of blocks auto-wires infrastructure dependencies through a shared scope.
So the differentiator isn't the abstraction level, it's that they designed the entire developer experience for AI agents to navigate correctly on first attempt.
That's the signal. AWS is saying documentation as agent interface is the new standard. This is the pattern every library will need to adopt. Make your docs machine readable, version them with your code, put them where agents look first.
Fair point. That is new. The code itself isn't revolutionary, but the distribution strategy for AI consumption is.
Agent index time. Framework star tracker for the week.
Notable moves this week. LangGraph plus 650, its best week since March. Likely driven by interest in multi-agent orchestration patterns after that parallel synthesis paper.
Crew AI plus 545, now just 1 star behind Flowise. 53,590 versus 53,591. Next week one of them takes the number 6 spot definitively.
OpenClau's delta dropped to plus 1,255. Its lowest weekly gain since we started tracking. Though at 378k total it remains untouchable.
MS Agent Framework at plus 215 outpaced both AutoGen at plus 198 and Semantic Kernel at plus 46. Confirming the migration from older Microsoft frameworks to the new one is real.
And Mastra overtook Versal AI SDK for the first time. 25,084 versus 24,882. The TypeScript agent framework crown just changed hands.
N8N holds steady above the 4-digit line at plus 1,015. The low-code agent space is healthy.
Hot take time. And this connects back to those frontier teams numbers.
Princeton's Narayanan and Kapoor published hard data this week. 0 AI-related layoffs reported under the New York WARN Act in its first year. 0
Block and Snap layoffs that got attributed to AA? Financial restructuring dressed up for investors.
Meanwhile, AWS just published data showing 6 engineers doing the work of 30. Both things are true simultaneously. AI makes engineers dramatically more productive. It does not eliminate them.
The decide and deliver layers of knowledge work resist automation. The execute layer got compressed. That's the distinction people keep missing.
Companies claiming AI layoffs are AI washing financial decisions to make shareholders happy.
But here's what I think the real threat is. It's not AI replacing junior engineers. It's senior engineers becoming so productive with AI that the hiring pipeline narrows.
Not because AI does the work. Because fewer humans can handle more of it.
That's a workforce planning problem, not a replacement problem. And nobody has a good answer for it yet.
Agreed. The narrative of AI replacing engineers is wrong. The reality of AI concentrating work into fewer senior hands is uncomfortable but more accurate.
And way harder to solve because you can't just retrain someone into being a senior engineer. That takes years of reps.
That's a wrap for issue 17 of the Agentic Engineer podcast. Subscribe to the newsletter at theagenticengineer.waltsoft.net and follow us on YouTube at the Agentic Engineer Pod.
Share it with a friend who's building with agents. We'll be back next week. Until then, keep building.